Maya's hands worked tirelessly as she arranged the last of the flowers on the dining table. The soft glow of candles reflected on the polished silverware, and the faint aroma of her husband Daniel's favorite dishes wafted through the air. Tonight marked their 5th wedding anniversary, a milestone she had been looking forward to for months. She took a step back to admire the setup. Their cozy suburban home, usually filled with the humdrum of daily life, had been transformed into an intimate setting that mirrored their happiest moments. Each detail was chosen with love: the vintage wine they had shared on their first date, the playlist of songs from their wedding night. It was perfect, a celebration of their journey together. Maya couldn't help but smile as she reminisced about how they had met. Daniel, charming and ambitious, had swept her off her feet with his wit and warmth. Over the years, she had given her all to their marriage, balancing her own career while supporting his dreams. Their life together wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, built on love and trust, or so she believed. Lately, though, something had shifted. Daniel had been distracted, his usual tenderness replaced by a distant preoccupation. He often claimed to be swamped with work, and while Maya tried to brush off her concerns, a lingering unease crept into her thoughts. She had even noticed his demeanor around her best friend, Zara, seemed different, but she dismissed the idea as paranoia. Zara had been a part of Maya's life for as long as she could remember. Bold, vivacious, and fiercely loyal, or so Maya thought. Zara had always been her confidant, the one who could lift her spirits with a joke or a spontaneous plan. When Maya had shared her plans for the anniversary surprise, Zara had encouraged her, though her enthusiasm had seemed forced. As Maya adjusted a candle, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Zara: "Hope tonight's perfect. You deserve the best." Maya smiled at the message, though something about it felt hollow. Zara had been strangely distant lately, claiming to be busy whenever Maya suggested meeting up. A sudden sound broke her reverie. The front door opened, and Maya turned, her face lighting up with expectation. But it wasn't Daniel. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Lively, who smiled apologetically. "I thought I saw Daniel's car earlier," she said. "I was going to congratulate you both." Maya's stomach fluttered with a mix of hope and doubt. She checked her phone again. No message from Daniel. The night stretched ahead, and Maya clung to the belief that this was just another moment in their story. Little did she know, the evening would unravel secrets that would change her world forever. The evening sun dipped lower, casting long shadows through the windows as Maya glanced at the clock for the 100th time. The table was set, candles flickering softly, but Daniel was nowhere to be seen. Her calls went unanswered, and each passing minute amplified the unease growing in her chest. Zara wasn't responding either, her phone going straight to voicemail. Maya tried to dismiss the nagging thoughts creeping into her mind. They are both busy, she reasoned, though her heart whispered otherwise. The perfect anniversary surprise was starting to feel like a cruel joke. As she paced the room, the doorbell rang, breaking her spiraling thoughts. Maya opened it to find Mrs. Lively again, her face a mix of hesitation and concern. "I don't mean to intrude," she began, "but I thought you should know, I saw Daniel's car parked near Zora's apartment earlier. I'm sure it's nothing, but..." The words hit Maya like a punch to the stomach. She forced a smile, thanked Mrs. Lively, and closed the door, her mind racing. What was Daniel doing near Zora's place? The thought lingered, growing heavier with each second. She shook her head, trying to dismiss the suspicion. It's just a coincidence. It has to be. Unable to shake the feeling, Maya grabbed her keys and left. The evening air felt colder than usual as she drove, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. Her heart pounded as she approached Zora's apartment, a part of her hoping Mrs. Lively was mistaken. She packed a distance away, not wanting to be seen. As she stepped closer, her breath caught in her throat. Through the partially drawn curtains of Zora's living room, she saw Daniel. He was there, laughing, his hand resting on Zora's shoulder in a way that sent a chill down Maya's spine. Zora leaned in, her face inches from his. The moment froze in time. Maya's world crumbled as the truth unfolded before her eyes. She took a step back, her foot slipping on the pavement, making a noise loud enough to catch their attention. Both heads turned toward the window. Maya's heart raced, her body trembling. She wanted to run, to scream, but all she could do was stand there, staring into the faces of the two people she trusted most. Maya's world had shattered in a single moment. The betrayal pierced her heart, leaving her frozen outside Zora's apartment. As her mind caught up with her emotions, she realized she had two choices: walk away silently or face the ugly truth head-on. Her body trembled, but her feet moved with purpose. The door to Zora's apartment creaked open just as Maya reached it. Zora stood there, her confident demeanor faltering for a brief second before a sly smirk crept across her face. Behind her, Daniel appeared, his face pale as if all the blood had drained from it. "Maya," Daniel started, his voice weak, reaching out as if to calm her. Maya's hand shot up, silencing him. "Don't you dare," she spat, her voice trembling but filled with venom. "Don't you dare try to explain." Zora leaned casually against the doorframe, her arms crossed. "Well, I guess there's no point in pretending anymore," she said smugly, her words laced with condescension. The audacity in Zora's voice lit a fire in Maya's chest. She stepped past Zora into the living room, her eyes locking onto Daniel. "How long?" she demanded, her voice breaking despite her attempt to stay strong. "How long has this been going on?" Daniel fumbled for words, his excuses tumbling out like loose threads. "Maya, listen, I didn't mean for this to happen. I was confused. Things between us have been different." "Different?" Maya repeated, her voice rising with each syllable. "We've been married for 5 years, Daniel. 5 years of love, sacrifice, and trust. Was that not enough for you?" Zara, unbothered by Maya's pain, interjected. "Oh, come on, Maya. You always acted like you were perfect, like your marriage was untouchable." Newsflash, it wasn't. Maya turned to Zora, her eyes blazing with anger. "You were my best friend, Zara. I trusted you. I confided in you. How could you do this to me?" Zara shrugged, her smugness growing. "Maybe it's time someone told you the truth. You were too predictable, Maya. Too naive. And let's face it, you never really deserved him." Daniel winced at Zora's words, but he didn't defend Maya. Instead, he muttered, "It's not just her fault. Things between us got stale, Maya. You were too busy trying to control everything. I needed something different." "Different?" Maya repeated, her voice laced with disbelief. "So instead of talking to me, instead of trying to fix what was wrong, you chose her. My best friend." Zora laughed, the sound grating against Maya's ears. "Face it, Maya. You lost. He chose me. It's not my fault you couldn't keep him interested." Maya felt the weight of their words crushing her, but as her tears threatened to fall, a new feeling began to emerge: anger. She straightened her back, her resolve hardening. "You know what, Zara? You're right. I was naive. I was stupid to think either of you were worth my trust." Her voice grew stronger, cutting through the room like a blade. "But let me make one thing clear. You didn't win, Zara. You settled for the scraps of a man who doesn't even have the guts to admit he's a coward." Daniel's face turned red with shame, but Zora remained defiant. "Call it whatever you want, Maya. At least I'm not the one left alone." Maya took a deep breath, letting the weight of their betrayal sink in fully. Alone, she said, a bitter smile forming on her lips. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people like you. Both of you are pathetic. She turned to Daniel one last time, her eyes filled with a mix of hurt and finality. You didn't just betray me, Daniel. You betrayed every memory we built together. But here's the thing, I'm done crying over you. Before either of them could respond, Maya stormed toward the door. Daniel tried to stop her, grabbing her arm, but she yanked it away with force. Don't touch me, she hissed, her voice like steel. Zora called after her mockingly. Good luck finding someone who can put up with you, Maya. Maya paused at the door, turning her head just enough to glare at Zora. You can have him, Zora. You two deserve each other. With that, she walked out, slamming the door behind her. The cool night air hit her face, and for the first time since the nightmare began, she felt a small sense of clarity. Her heart was shattered, yes, but she refused to let their betrayal define her. As she drove away, the memories of her life with Daniel flooded her mind, their first date, their wedding, the moments of laughter and love. Each memory felt like a dagger, but instead of breaking her, they fueled her resolve. She deserved better. She always had. Maya drove aimlessly, the cool night air streaming through the car window. Her mind raced, replaying the betrayal she had just witnessed. The pain was sharp, but beneath it, a growing sense of clarity began to emerge. She thought of all the times she had sacrificed her happiness, ignored her own needs, and fought to keep a relationship alive while Daniel grew distant. She realized, painfully, that this betrayal was not just a sudden blow, it had been building for years. Pulling over to the side of a quiet road, Maya took deep, shaky breaths. Her tears had dried, replaced by a simmering anger that coursed through her veins. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of power returning to her. She gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles whitening, and whispered to herself, I deserve better. Determined not to be consumed by grief, Maya decided to go back. Not to beg or plead, but to confront them one last time, to reclaim her dignity and sever the ties that had held her captive to their lies. Her reflection in the rearview mirror stared back at her, tired but resolute. She started the engine and turned the car around. Back at Zora's apartment, the lights were still on. Maya entered without knocking. Daniel and Zora, seated on the couch, turned toward her in surprise. Zora's smug expression faltered for a moment, and Daniel looked visibly uncomfortable. Maya, what are you? Daniel began, but she cut him off. Save it, she said, her voice steady but firm. I came back for one reason. To tell you both exactly how pathetic you are. Zora leaned back, feigning boredom. Oh, here we go. Another dramatic speech. Maya stepped closer, her gaze fixed on Daniel. Daniel, you had everything. A wife who loved you, a life we built together, and a future that I would have fought for. But you threw it all away for what? A thrill. A fling. Daniel opened his mouth to speak, but Maya's sharp tone silenced him. No. Don't even try to justify it. There's no excuse for what you've done. You didn't just betray me, you betrayed yourself. And for what? Someone who was supposed to be my best friend. Maya turned to Zora, her eyes narrowing. And you? You had the audacity to call yourself my friend. You stood by me, listened to me talk about my fears, my dreams, my love for this man. And all the while, you were waiting for your chance to destroy it. Why? Because you were jealous. Because you wanted what I had. Zora's smirk returned, though it was less confident now. You're right, Maya. I did want what you had. And guess what? I got it. Maya laughed bitterly. No, Zora. You didn't. You got the leftovers of a man who didn't even have the courage to be honest. Congratulations. You deserve each other. Daniel stood up, his voice desperate. Maya, please. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. I love you. Maya shook her head, her voice calm but unyielding. You don't love me, Daniel. You love the idea of me. The safety, the stability, the convenience. But love isn't convenience. Love is respect. And you lost that the moment you chose her. Daniel reached out for her hand, but Maya stepped back. No, she said firmly. Don't touch me. You don't get to apologize now, not when you've already shown me who you really are. Turning to Zara one last time, Maya's voice dropped, each word heavy with finality. You may think you've won, but all you've done is reveal the truth. You're not worth my pain or my energy. I'm done with both of you. Maya walked to the door, pausing only to glance back at Daniel. You didn't just lose me, Daniel. You lost the best thing that ever happened to you. She left without another word, her head held high. Outside, the night air felt different, lighter, freer. She felt the weight of their betrayal lift with each step she took away from them. The tears she had shed were gone, replaced by a quiet strength. She was no longer the woman clinging to a broken marriage. She was someone new, someone stronger. As she drove away, the city lights blurred around her, and for the first time in years, she felt a flicker of hope. She had faced her pain, confronted her betrayers, and walked away with her dignity intact. The road ahead was uncertain, but Maya knew one thing for sure, she would never settle for less than she deserved again. The days following the confrontation were heavy, but Maya was determined to find her footing again. The home she had built with Daniel now felt like a hollow shell, echoing with memories that were hard to face. Instead of succumbing to the grief, Maya made a choice, she would reclaim her life, piece by piece. She began by reaching out to her family. Her younger sister, Onya, was the first to arrive, arms open wide, ready to comfort her. They spent hours talking, Maya pouring out her heart while Onya listened, offering words of encouragement and support. You've always been stronger than you think, Onya reminded her. This isn't the end for you, it's a new beginning. Maya also confided in her old friend Leah, someone she had lost touch with over the years while trying to maintain her marriage. Leah had always been her rock during difficult times, and reconnecting with her felt like finding a missing piece of herself. Over coffee, Leah gently nudged Maya toward focusing on her own dreams. You used to talk about starting your own design business, Leah said. Why not now? You're free to do whatever you want. Taking those words to heart, Maya threw herself into rediscovering the passions she had set aside. She began sketching again, filling pages with designs and ideas that had been buried under years of compromise and neglect. The act of creating felt cathartic, as if she were reclaiming parts of herself that had been lost. She signed up for a local business workshop, meeting like-minded individuals who shared her ambition and drive. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and Maya found herself excited about the future for the first time in years. She also made changes to her physical space, starting with the house. Maya packed away reminders of Daniel, boxing up photos, mementos, and anything else that carried the weight of betrayal. She rearranged furniture, painted the walls a calming shade of blue, and adorned her living room with fresh flowers. Each change felt symbolic, like shedding layers of the past and stepping into a new chapter. Despite her progress, there were moments of doubt. Nights were still the hardest, when the silence stretched long, and memories crept in uninvited. But Maya learned to embrace those moments, using them as reminders of how far she had come. She started journaling before bed, filling the pages with gratitude for small victories and reflections on her growth. Her entries became a testament to her resilience. One day, while walking through the park, Maya paused to watch a group of children playing. Their laughter was infectious, and she found herself smiling. It was a small but powerful moment, a reminder that joy could still exist even in the aftermath of heartbreak.